Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you feel that you don't really belong? It makes things awkward for you when you feel lost and confused. Today, I'll be giving you some tips on how to avoid being in those situations by explaining the different components of culture. I found this topic very interesting because I work with the public a lot, so I've taken some time to research this topic in our book this week. First, we'll review the definition of culture, as well as the definitions of the four components of culture, which are language, symbols, values, and norms, as well as apply those concepts to real life examples in order to help you further understand. Starting with the official definition of culture, a system of learned and shared symbols, language, values, and norms that distinguish one group of people from another. The first component of culture is symbols, which is simply something that represents an idea. The second is language, a written or spoken communication that passes culture from one generation to another. Next is values, which are standards for judging how good, desirable, or beautiful something is. And lastly is norms, or expectations that guide people's behaviors. Now that you know each definition, I have come up with some examples to further explain and connect these four components to our everyday lives, as well as give some definitions in simpler terms. The way I look at culture is that there are four components: language, symbols, values, and norms that make up how people communicate with each other. A symbol is something pretty simple. We associate fir trees with Christmas and Christmas trees, and the menorah that holds the 9 candles is a symbol for Hanukkah. Language is a more broad of a component, but an example that I think would be how we communicate has changed so much and developed so much from drawings of pictures to stories and poems, which were the only things that people had to make sure that their legacies and that their traditions lived on. And now to more developed verbal languages, as well as many ways to communicate on paper as well as electronically. And a word that stuck with me in the definition of value was beauty. And in today's world, there are so many different ideas for that word alone. And when I was younger, I would watch marathons of America's Next Top Model. That was a competition surrounded by being judged on your beauty and how good or desirable each person was to work with. And some norms that have been established are that newborn baby boys are associated with the color blue, and newborn baby girls are associated with the color pink. And another one would be feminine and masculinity of each gender, whereas men are supposed to be very strong and show very little emotion, and women are the opposite and should be very emotional and less strong physically. So, to wrap things up, I've explained the four different components of culture as well as given you some real life examples. So, hopefully, this will allow you to be aware of your situations culturally and you'll know exactly how to move forward confidently.